ladies and gentlemen, we have Mr. Adam Taylor in the studio today.
Memorial Day.
It is Memorial Day weekend. What are you doing this weekend?
Daughter has a dance recital, and then we are doing nothing on Sunday and Monday. Just hanging out at the house.
Zero,
which is never happens, right? So finally a weekend, no plans other than dance recital.
That's actually a good question. Tell me about the power of zero.
So Power of Zero, tax-free retirement, there's a lot of books out there, and they've been out for decades, but a lot of them talk about changing the paradigm and your perspective of, do I pay taxes now or do I pay taxes later? So the premise and the takeaway from those two books and multiple other ones are, hey, historically, we're in a very, very low tax bracket right now. So 37%, even in Obama, it was 39. But if you look back to World War II, it was 94%, right? Top ordinary income tax bracket, 94%.
94?
94.
How does that even work?
You make $1, you give 94 cents to the government, right?
I thought it was bad now.
Well, that's what everyone thinks, right? But
yeah.
Again, you have to look back at history. And World War II, obviously funding a war, but even in the 60s and 70s, the highest tax bracket was 70%. 70%. Now, Vietnam's a little bit of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But also government spending was out of control. Kind of interesting to see where we are now.
That's exactly where we're at.
But 70%, right? So you make $1, you give 70 cents back to the government. And that kind of sucks. So what Power of Zero, what tax-free retirement, what a lot of these other books talk about is, how do I pay taxes on the seed,
right,
and not the harvest? Because so many people now, they focus on today and how can I reduce my taxable income, right? Well, that's great. But a lot of the, even retirement accounts, a lot of those are pre-tax. So what part of our job at Taylor Financial for educating our clients as their advocate, as their fiduciary, as their
strategist,
their go-to team, right, is to say, hey, let's look at the big picture, not only today but decades out. And if we can pay taxes on the seed and not the harvest, that could be pretty exponential. Not only will it help you with your investments, but what about Medicare supplement plans? What about Social Security? There's a lot of things that are income-based in the future that can be affected if you deferred a lot of your income.
So what is a good starting strategy that might apply to everyone if we wanted to equip them with a Power of Zero strategy?
Yeah, I think it's finding a few assets out there, right? It's you can go into the estate trust aspect. You can go into really just the basic of Roths, Roth IRAs, Roth 401ks.
Okay, that's what I was thinking immediately.
Right, Roth, right? And even there was about 4 or 5 months ago, and this is the end of 2022, early 2023, January, Secure Act 2.0 was updated and passed. And so now even other retirement accounts like simple IRAs, SEP accounts, they can all be Roths, and they're increasing the contribution limit quite a bit. So you're able to get $60,000+ into a Roth asset if you structure it correctly. And really, it goes back for us and the team to educate our clients on what that means long term, not just what it means today.
So getting the money into, say, a SEP and then converting it to a Roth, that's 2 steps, correct?
That could be 1 step, but with Secure Act 2.0, you can start to say, I want my SEP to be Roth contributions.
Wow.
No, not many people know that. And again, it's only 4 or 5 months old, but again, part of that strategy and that value add that we would bring to clients.
Yeah. So let's take a couple steps back. I just played off the Power of Zero on doing zero this weekend on Memorial Day weekend. But let's take a couple steps back and tell me a little bit about, the hospitality side of you that I think is what makes Taylor Financial so valuable to its customers. You come from a little bit of a different angle. So let's step into that. What makes the experience at Taylor Financial so special?
Yeah, so there's a tagline, and it's cliche and corny, but it's bringing the service back into financial services. So I guess it starts a little bit of my background. So went to Florida State, best school in the nation, right? And graduated with a business degree, but a major in hospitality. So a lot of my buddies think my degree's in ketchup because I was going to go work at restaurants and be in hotels my entire career. So after I graduated, I joined a restaurant group, traveled all around the country, got out of Tallahassee, San Francisco, became a sommelier, which is a cork dork, a wine guru, whatever you want to call it. Moved to New Orleans, got relocated because of Katrina, and did all these really cool places, opening up restaurants, getting promoted, and then became the youngest managing partner at the Capitol Grill. So ran the Capitol Grill
in Tampa.
In Tampa, yep. What moved me to Tampa in 2009. Opened up a few other of those locations, but at a fine dining restaurant at the Capitol Grill, the focus there is how to create an exceptionally distinctive guest experience or client experience or customer experience. But how do you create this exceptionally distinctive? Something that is that heart of a servant mentality. How do you really anticipate those needs? And what I have found is when I left that industry in 2011 and got into what I'm doing now, financial services, that no one in the financial services industry is doing that. No one is thinking about how to create this exceptionally distinctive client experience, how to anticipate needs, how to really ask the important questions about the family and their personal and their professional and their financial goals, but financial goals almost being last and focusing more on the relationship of what are your personal goals? Tell me about your professional journey and where do you want to be? So again, that service aspect and how we love on our clients is one of the reasons why I think we've had this hockey stick growth over the last 5 years.
And it was kind of a world of black and white. You brought in the color, the experience, and I like the way that you're asking the questions in a sense of what is the end result? What is the goal? Where are we trying to get to? What is the thing that's most meaningful to you or your family? And then you kind of fill that in, where then it's just about what they want, and it doesn't have to get. You don't have to muddy the conversation with how we're going to get there. You're going to figure that out.
Sure.
Here's a big topic right now. What's going to happen with this debt ceiling?
It is on the news.
What are we, days away? It's like a week away.
Yeah, it's June 1st, right? So it's less than a week away. So
are you going to make a prediction? Make a prediction and then just kind of give us your
my
optics.
Crystal ball is in the car, right? So, but no, we can't predict, but we can prepare. I can tell you I'm a big person of avoiding the media and avoiding the drama sometimes that is portrayed out there because media does that for numerous reasons. I can tell you that on the debt ceiling standpoint, one, I think they should have probably raised the debt ceiling before midterm elections last year. But nonetheless, now that we have a split in the House and Senate, obviously the GOP controlling the House. But what I personally think is both sides have a huge incentive to raise the debt ceiling. Huge. So I think it's a lot of posturing right now. I think it feels just like 2011 again. And if you remember 2011, which was 12 years ago, we have the same situation. Oh my goodness, debt ceiling. We're going to not be able to pay our bills.
What was it in 2011? Wasn't it like 14 trillion?
It was a much smaller amount than the 32 trillion that it's about to hit, right? So, but the point there is in 2011, we got up to 72 hours before the deadline before we actually raised the debt ceiling. And the debt ceiling has been raised 74 times. We have never not raised the debt ceiling. And ultimately go back to what is the debt ceiling, right? And it's this arbitrary number set by the Congress. And there's only one other country in this world that has this again, arbitrary number of, hey, we hit this amount, we've got to raise it. And that's Denmark, right? Everyone else they don't have this debt ceiling kind of drama.
Threshold.
Right, that we're going through now. And so,
but they have debt.
Correct, yes. And our GDP is phenomenal. It's actually
We're spending more of a percentage of our GDP than we ever really have.
Currently. We have, and that's been for the last few years of just entitlement programs, and a lot of things have happened with COVID. A lot of things have happened that not forced us, but to where we started spending more.
Sure.
But still, our GDP at 24 trillion is twice the size or more than China and Japan combined, right? So we're still this very, very strong nation. But I think the question is, and kind of going back to the debt ceiling, my prediction is it's going to be raised within probably by the weekend, right? It being Friday now, but we have until Thursday. Highly confident both parties have high incentives to raise it. It will be raised. But I think the biggest question or bigger question is our spending. So when I mentioned earlier too, I think maybe you had a sidebar conversation of taxes, right? But in the 60s and 70s, the government had no choice but to raise taxes to 70%, not only because of the Vietnam War, but because of just government spending. So I believe spending is out of control, and I believe that we're ultimately going to have to raise taxes, which goes back to the power of zero. Why not pay tax on the seed, knowing that there's this huge variable of taxes that ultimately will probably go up?
And you were just on ABC discussing this exact topic.
Correct. Yeah. So they reached out and said we need an expert or a team. There's a lot of question around the debt ceiling, just like you asked. And so this previous Monday, they came to the office, my beautiful office that we just renovated.
It is gorgeous.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
And so they came in and they interviewed, and they pretty much asked some of the same questions. And it was more general, like, hey, what can the public do to prepare for this, and what does it mean for them? But yeah, it was interesting.
So let's just fast forward. Let's say, obviously, 74 times. This will be the 75th time.
Yep.
And they do raise. They come to a number where they say, okay, we can follow this guideline or this number. What happens? What's the good? What's the bad?
So if they raise the ceiling, which I think they will, that pushes out 2 more years, right? So we'll be in the same situation. The bad, let's say they don't raise the debt ceiling. Again, unlikely in my opinion. I think they will. I think the credit rating of
so the good, they push it out 2 more years. We have a new number. But what does that do for the average person on the street? Does it do anything? Are they going to feel anything, see anything? What happens there?
If they pass it, if they raise it?
Sure.
Yeah, more than likely nothing. It might be some short-term drama in the equity market and the actual stock market.
Sure.
Maybe some bonds will be affected, but it's nothing that I think is long-term. I think that would be a 7 to 10 day, again, prediction, opinion, but it might be a short-term drama, but nothing long-term. If it gets raised.
If it gets raised.
Yeah.
If it doesn't get raised, because then there's the whole controversy of the new financial system creating, problem, reaction, solution. So if it doesn't get raised, what is the problem? And what do you think the reaction is going to be?
Immediately, interest rates. I think interest rates on a lot of things that consumers borrow, whether it's a adjustable rate on their mortgage, whether it's credit cards, whether it's something that has a variable aspect to the debt that they borrowed, I think that could go up quite a bit. I do think the market will freak out for a short period of time, and I think the market will retract. Now, take a step back there. The market itself, and most people use a few benchmarks, but the NASDAQ, the S&P 500, the Dow, NASDAQ is more tech heavy, but year to date since January 1st, the NASDAQ is up almost 25%. S&P 500 up 10%, right? So historically, and that's 5 months, not even 5 months, right? Historically, the S&P typically averages about 9% long-term, whether 10-year, 20, 50-year clip. So for us to be up 10% in 5 months is really an anomaly. Now, granted, we're coming off of a year where the S&P was down 18% in 2022, but still, what I think will happen if the debt ceiling doesn't get raised, that the market will be adversely affected short term. But I do think variable rates can really hurt the consumer if they have a lot of those adjustable arms.
So that's really what they're protecting us from, because the rates have moved so quickly in a very short period of time.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if that hits again and it hits hard and fast, it's going to create some pain. Because I think people are already encroaching on pain, if not in it already.
Yeah, and there's government entitlement programs that may not get paid. There's other things that could happen from the debt ceiling. But again, I would encourage individuals, obstacles are what you see when you lose your vision. Think about the long-term vision of your financial plan, and don't make decisions on short-term media headlines. So long-term plan, work with a team, look at 2011, what happened, last minute decision. Actually, the U.S. got downgraded from the credit standpoint in 2011. They went from a AAA to an AA+, and the market went down for a month or two. And then if you look at from 2011 to 2023, the S&P 500 using that index has gone up 300+% since then. And so if you think, hey, I need to go to cash, I need to sell everything, you would have missed out on this huge opportunity, even with all the drama back in 2011. So again, it feels like a rinse and repeat of 12 years ago.
And speaking of huge opportunity, what do you think going forward? Really, where is the opportunity going forward? Say 24 months. Because we're really then going into the election.
Yeah. Yeah, I think right now AI is hot. Semiconductors, the bill that was recently passed, where they're bringing a lot of that back to the U.S. with just the technology side, the NASDAQ being up so much as it is already this year. NVIDIA is up 160% since January 1. Again, 5 months, 160%. So personally, we're still bullish on the tech sector.
Mm-hmm.
So I do think technology is a great sector to look into. I think the financial sector has been hurt recently with some of the SVPs and some of the banking news, but I think that's an opportunity for long-term growth. But again, it's really looking at a well-diversified portfolio because, again, we don't have that crystal ball. We can't predict, but we can prepare. And a well-diversified portfolio eliminates a lot of variable and eliminates a lot of the risk, but still has great long-term results.
So watching you with Taylor Financial and how you kind of work with your clients and in the community, tell me a little bit more about some of the things that you're doing for like community impact. I know you had an event recently. There's always kind of a thing going on in Tampa, but what are you doing to kind of promote or support the community, the veterans? Where do you find interest and impact there?
Yeah, so I think the desire to give back really came from that restaurant industry. You get what you give.
Sure.
So I'm always thinking about what are some fun events we can do to give back, whether it's give back to our community, give back to our clients from an appreciation standpoint, or just finding a way to get involved in the community. Not only, obviously, it helps with the brand and the recognition of the goodwill there, but so we have these funny names of these events that we've done. So as I mentioned before, early in my career in a different industry, I became a sommelier, so I can talk wine with the best of them. So we put these events on about once a year called Corks and Dorks. So the cork being the wine aspect, and then the dork being me and my team. But we do deductive reasoning of wine, and we taste really good wine. But then we have a serious subject of what we're talking about, whether it's kids' education, whether it's new laws that were passed. So we do Corks and Dorks. All the money that is raised from that goes to Stano Foundation, which I'll talk a little bit more about later. We do Bourbon and Brains too, us being the brains.
We've got to integrate.
No, this is
BA,
good.
We have to integrate Corks and Dorks into BA, or Bourbon and Brains into BA. It would be great session. Yeah. Maybe in the evening when we go from sessions to like dinners, maybe that hour or so in between, where we can obviously interface with you and understand you a little bit better, but have some fun around those topics. That would be cool.
Well, the question is, who's got the wine budget?
Yeah, I think we could actually get some sponsors that would bring that stuff to the table very easily. But it would be cool to educate the membership, but also create that experience as well. Because we were going to get you a bottle of wine. Matter of fact, Coleman, our director of the experience here, was like, let's get him a bottle of wine. I'm like, no, man, I don't know which one.
Yeah.
We got to figure out, we got to ask his assistant, his wife, somebody get on it.
Yeah.
I said, screw it, just ask him. So, let's take a dive down that rabbit hole real quick.
Sure.
Give us a quick wine lesson. What makes a great wine? What do you like? Maybe what do you steer away from? Kind of give us the basics.
Yeah, I mean, so everyone's going to be different from their desires and their likes, right? So I proposed to my wife in Napa at a winery called Quintessa, right? So I have this infinity. We've been together 21 years, married, just celebrated 14 years last week. And so, yeah, thank you. So I love, like a lot of us, I love Napa wines, right? But I love more valley floor. So Napa has AVAs, which are sub areas of a larger area. I'm not going to go too.
Write this down.
I'm not going to go too deep.
We're getting his order right now.
This is high level, right? But what I really love, to answer your question, my favorite is because of that Quintessa experience and that memory of proposing to her and all the great things that happened. Sure. I love Rutherford and I love Oakville. Oakville and Rutherford are valley floor, which typically means they're a little more fruit forward, a little higher alcohol content, but they have incredible tannins. They have incredible just an experience itself. But so Oakville and Rutherford cabs are by far my favorite. But I can tell you don't have to spend a lot of money to enjoy
that's
wine.
That's what I wanted to do. Now we're going to get down into the nitty gritty. Yeah. We let you talk about all the fancy stuff and the markets and the interest rates and all that stuff. Yeah. But let's get down to
the wine.
Well, the wine is what matters. So let's empower the gentleman listening. If they're on their way home, they want to get something from the store. They want to bring home some wine. They don't want to kill the pocketbook.
Yeah.
What's a strategy there? What can they get that's great?
So I'm big into Austin Hope right now. Austin Hope is out of Paso Robles. It's probably $32 at Total Wine.
Okay.
Pick that up. Here's the key though. So it doesn't have to be phenomenal wine, but I do believe the temperature of the wine is crucial. So if you're just drinking red wine, let's say you're having a glass of Cab or a glass of Pinot Noir or whatnot.
Sure.
If it's just sitting on the countertop, to me, that's too hot. It's not... it's going to be, you're going to hit the alcohol, right?
We're getting the technique down.
Okay. You can make really inexpensive wine taste so good.
By temperature.
So
what is the temperature?
Yeah, so I like to have my red wine anywhere from about 67 to 70 degrees. Right. So about 5 to 10 degrees cooler than what you typically would have wine.
65 to 67.
67 to 70 mine.
Oh, 67. Okay.
Yep. But just say 5 to 10 degrees less than. So put it in the fridge.
Coleman, wine cooler, 67 degrees.
Put it in the fridge for 10 minutes.
Dude, the wine cooler's there. We just didn't know what to set it at.
Yeah. Well,
now we're going to be so fancy 67. By the end of this thing.
Yeah.
All right. Beautiful. So difference between white and red? You don't really go the white route.
Oh, of course.
You do?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Come on.
Oh.
Yeah, it just depends. It depends. Hey, if I'm sitting on the back porch, watching my kids jump in down the pool and it's 98 degrees outside, I'm not going to open up a bottle of Napa Cab. I'm probably going to open up, something white. So I love Marlborough Sauvignon Blancs, New Zealand Sauvignon Blancs, and just real crisp, refreshing. So I'm a big fan of whites as well.
Classy guy. Everybody's out here drinking.
It's good
beer, and you're outclassing everybody. No, I love it. This is good stuff. And now, are you a cigar guy?
I am, yeah. So actually, Chris Denner actually just came out with this new cigar line. This is kind of a plug for him right now. But
it is a plug.
Unintentionally.
But I did tell him, man, it's got to burn a little bit. Like, it's got to be tighter, just a hair tighter. I like them a little tighter wrapped.
I like how it's not over the top. It's an easy cigar.
Oh.
It's something,
it's a daily.
You don't feel like crap the next day, right? Yeah. So that's something you can chill. You don't have to worry about it being too robust, too just in your face.
Yeah.
So big stick.
It's the one to
Chris
have.
Denner, love you, dude.
Yeah, it's the one to have around at all times. What? Hey, Coleman, back to the experience. We should have a box of the big stick sitting right here for sure. Big stick.
Big stick?
Is that what it is?
Big stick.
And is it
goes with his big balls.
Yeah, I know. I was going to say, it's on the Big Balls site, right?
This guy.
How do we get to
He's a genius at this marketing.
He is. How do we get to the big stick?
Listen, what you do on your night and weekends is... Let's go back to the community stuff.
Yeah. Oh, back to... like the Stanos group.
Yeah, so Corks and Dorks, Bourbon and Brains. We do Flicks and Advocates where we rent out movie theaters for our clients.
You have that coming up.
We did, actually. Little Mermaid, it was coming up in a couple of weeks, but we decided to push it back some. So yes, but not a confirmed date yet. But Flicks and Advocates, right? So another catchy little thing. But recently what we've done, and Board of Advisors was very gracious to be involved and to sponsor, is the Skeets and Geeks. So third year doing Skeets and Geeks. It's clay shooting. We do it at the Tampa Bay Sporting Clays. We did it about a month ago now. Mm-hmm. And we raised money. And ultimately the goal is to raise money for the Stano Foundation. And they're a local Wesley Chapel 501c3. And what they do is they put together personalized care packages and they send over to our active troops. So it's almost giving them a little bit of peace of home. And we raised a little over $25,000 this year. Third year doing it.
That's quite a bit. And it was a one-day event.
Yeah, it's a 3-hour event.
Yeah.
It was like a 9 to 12 gig.
Are you always tying an association or an organization to the event, or not every time?
We are, and we've chosen Stano Foundation last few years.
Okay.
We work as a firm. We work a lot with the retired military. We have 1- and 2-star generals as clients, and we just really became that industry expert on retired military benefits. So
I don't know why you're missing your calling though, because I see you doing some sort of a wine bourbon and tying in the car meetup. Like, you're such a car guy. Where's the car meetup?
yeah, so there's another group I started, and I didn't get really traction or anything with it, but it was Gears, and Grapes. So I love watches, right? You have a beautiful timepiece on, and mine's okay. But Gears, and Grapes, right? So watch Gears,
and Grapes.
right? Maybe need help with it, but I started it a couple years ago, had one event, and then just got too busy actually
Let's
doing
do
my
this.
day job.
Okay, so in the spirit of BA and the spirit of being a car guy,
Sure.
let's do cars, convos, and coffee.
The C's.
Let's get it. Because
But where's the wine?
but you got to surprise them with the
Where-
wine.
where are the
Because you don't
watches?
want to advertise that there's tons of wine and bourbon, because then it might look bad. You know what I mean? So you surprise them with the wine, because everybody drinks coffee,
Yep.
right? But we have to build something around the car aspect or the
Yeah.
car community. We can still pick a beneficiary.
Love it.
I think we'll get a great turnout.
Bring the
I'm not
collection.
even going to invite people. I'm going to tell them, I'll see you there. Like, let's go.
Perfect.
Yeah. And I think we should also do something where maybe we pick an adventure. Like maybe we go from here, like a Corsa. We go from here to, say, Naples.
Yeah.
Like, that would be cool.
There's a lot of those out there right now, and they raise quite a bit of money for a good cause. So all about it. You don't like Gears, and Grapes? I thought that was...
I do like Gears, and Grapes, but I feel like you can't have two gears.
Yeah.
Now, yeah, we got to think about that one.
Yeah. Put some thought behind
But I'm all in. If we can get the car thing going, I'm all in. Tell me about your. You have the wine. You have you like the cigars, the cars. Actually, that's it. Wine, cigars, and cars.
it. Yeah.
That might be it.
That's not bad.
That isn't bad.
Yeah.
Write that down, Coleman. All right. Tell me about the cars. What got you into cars? Was it something early on as a kid? I mean, usually for guys, it starts early on as a kid.
Yeah. So it was my dad. My dad used to take me to car shows all the time. Unfortunately, he passed away at a young age. But when I was younger, we used to go to car shows all the time. And now I grew up in Tallahassee. So the cars that were there were, hey, there's a Mustang. This is pretty cool. Nothing wrong with Mustangs, but you didn't really see a lot of the exotics or
It's funny how far those Mustangs have come.
Oh, they're nuts.
They're unbelievable.
Oh.
Yeah.
Like
the
800
tech.
horsepower. Oh,
Yeah.
Crazy.
So
So my dad got me into it.
I do want to talk about your dad and your dad's dad, and then kind of how you live each day. But on the car thing, you've got a very particular taste, and so does your wife, right? So what are your preferences there, and why?
Yeah, so I love Italian cars. I've got a handful of Ferraris. I love Porsche GT3. I've got one of those, a couple Aston Martins. I love motorcycles, but mostly it's Italian. I guess what I love exotics, right? So when it comes to cars, I'm a deal guy. So I don't buy them brand new. I buy them 18 months to 3-4 years old. So
Somebody took the hit.
the depreciation, right? So that's huge, right? So I'm a finance guy. I'm a numbers guy. So I'm always thinking about, hey, how can I buy cars, but how can I not spend $450,000 MSRP on this vehicle?
How did somebody just take the hit so that I can afford it for a period? But do you keep them for a while?
If you ask my wife, absolutely not. So I probably go through 4 different cars a year, 3 to 4. I have kept some of the ones like the Aston Martin for 3 years. But the rest of them, goodness, they're probably...
That Aston is pretty rare.
It's all carbon. It's just gorgeous.
That
The
thing's
V12
rare.
sound. Oh, it's stunning. But I probably get about every 7 months or so, I go through a new car. I've got this like Tonka Jeep, this big old monster truck Jeep I've had for 2 years, and it's got 5,000 miles on it. So
yeah, but the thing about that is you don't have to care about it. You just get in it, you drive it.
I put the company sticker on. Anyway, but yeah, I love cars. I started the Montana LLC a few years ago, so when I go buy cars, I buy them in the name of the business, so I don't pay sales tax, and I can save quite a bit of money if you're buying,
especially on the transition of if you're not keeping them for a while, right?
Yeah.
So if you had to have one, now we know the Aston, the one Aston is Andy's, but if you had to keep one, which one would you keep?
Yeah, so my Ferrari.
Or which one would you get?
My Ferrari GTC4Lusso. It's a V12. It's 681 horsepower and top speed 209 miles an hour. Right. So the reason I like that is it looks like a station wagon. It's called a shoot and brake design.
It looks like Batman.
But I've got 3 kids. Right. Yeah. So we have twin boys that are 6, and my daughter who's 8. And the boys love car shows, just like I went to car shows with my dad. I want to instill that in them. So we go to car shows, and I'm able to get them in the back, and they're able to.
The reason you win is because of them.
Yeah.
I saw the pictures. They're standing up in the back. They're like, okay, give the kids the win.
We won a huge trophy. Like
you're so competitive.
The Ferrari trophy we won because it was the family-friendly Ferrari. And everyone's like, oh, if I'm going to get one, I'm going to get that. Because you know, the best car to have is one you can experience with a family. Or at least with both of them.
That's true. Let's go back to your dad, though. Your dad kind of died at an early age, unfortunately, and his as well. Tell me a little bit about that, and how does that affect your day-to-day routine? Yeah,
so tough subject. So we'll see how I do with this one. So I was 20 when he passed, and found out it was the day after Father's Day. So June, and I was 41 now, right? So 21 years ago. And so I got a call from my stepmom, ex-stepmom actually, and she said, hey, my dad is a public defender for Leon County, so he was a defense attorney. And so got a call from her, and she said, hey, something's happened to your dad. You need to come to the hospital. Day after Father's Day, we had dinner. He was fine, right? So went to the hospital, not thinking anything of it, and waited for probably 30 minutes. Doctor finally came out and said, are you the son of Gene Taylor? Yes, I'm Adam Taylor. And he said, I'm sorry to tell you, but your father's passed away, and I need you to identify the body. My brother was in Dallas. I was the only family member who was able to do that at the time. So I'll never forget identifying, his body and just, what that did to me. And I think what happened there, and he was 54, and so young age. His dad was 48, and it was cholesterol, blood pressure, heart attack. And so what that did to me is at the age of 20, I changed from this. I was originally a computer science major. I thought I was going to be typing code, and we had a conversation like that earlier. And I was working at a restaurant, and I realized then, I was like, I don't want to be in a room 8 hours a day typing code. And it's not my personality. I want to do something different. I want to do something that brings joy to me and I have fun with. And so I really put both feet into the restaurant, and that's kind of what took off from there. But since he passed away, everything went into supercharge mode and focused on my career. One of the reasons I think I became the youngest managing partner of Capital Grill at 27, and really have had the success we've had collectively within Taylor Financial, since in the last few years. But the point there is that I live my life like I'm not going to live past the age of 55. And everyone says you're crazy, right? You're not the epitome of health, but you're in good shape.
Sure.
You're healthy, healthy mindset, healthy body, like healthy family. Like you seem like you're in great shape. You'll probably live until 95. Well, I do have extremely high cholesterol, which is great, and that's just hereditary. But I think what happens is when you start living in the mentality that you're not going to live past the age of 55 or 14 years from me in the future, every day counts. And it's, what can I do today that's going to make an impact, not only in my life, my family's life, but in my client's life. So it focuses me knowing that I've got a short period of time left here. And if I live past 55, which statistically I should, right? That's just gravy, because then I had a chance to really focus on making that impact early on, and setting aside money and having the right amount of life insurance and making sure that, God forbid, something that did happen before that age.
Do you think that's a dangerous thought, though? Because sometimes everything, and I believe it all starts in the mind.
Yeah.
And if you're too focused on it, are you going to manifest? And I'm not big into like the whole manifesting foo-foo. I'm just saying, I think the mind controls a lot of reality, right?
I'm not focused in a negative sense. I'm focused in like, hey, I'm trying to be more present. I'm trying to be where my feet are. Sometimes that's one of my issues, especially when I'm not hanging out with the family and the kids.
I see.
Because I'm working, right? I'm working and I'm trying to make sure I can move the needle and move the rock forward to generate
so you
income,
see
revenue,
orange,
legacy.
You're juicing the orange of 55, and then everything else is a bonus.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's morbid, isn't it?
No, I totally get it. I understand my dad died pretty early as well, just right before 60. So I do have that thought sometimes in the back of my head, and it's like, are you, you even shared the number 14 years. What are you doing with that 14 years?
That's what you wake up every morning and think of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not a long period of time.
No.
And here's the other fact that, once you're 65, fitness, life is different. You're not as capable. And even many times in business, people expect a certain thing to have been accomplished by an age like that, or you potentially get discounted because, at that point, what is going to, if you haven't done it till then, what's going to happen now, right? So I think a lot of it is seize the day.
Yeah, and then one of the goals too, and it's always, they talk about you build a business to sell, right? Whether you sell or not, you build it to where it's clean books. It's all buttoned up, and at any moment you could sell it if you needed to, right? Or at least be in a very quick position to do so. So for one of my goals is to sell, or at least have the ability to sell for 50 under 50. So it's one of the things I think about on a regular basis, selling the business for 50 million under 50. Now, granted, that came up a couple of years ago, that mentality, and maybe I need to think bigger now. But 50 under 50 is an idea and a goal that I constantly think about.
That'd be a great goal.
Yeah. So, I sell it for 50 million, right? And then let's say I just live off of 4% of that, right? So 4% is, okay, well, that's a decent amount of income that's coming in on an annual basis.
Sure.
To where even if I do live past 55, I don't have to worry about really the income aspect of that. So, so we'll see. But again, that 50 under 50, and who knows, I probably will never sell it. I love our clients so much. I love what I do every day. I'm able to be here on a Friday and not have to think about, like, I have to go ask the boss if I can take off, right? So I don't have to worry again about a lot of that grind I used to in the restaurant industry.
Tell me a little bit about the team too, building the team, kind of the players on the team. The team becomes like a second family in a sense, because you are spending sometimes more time with them than you are your actual family. Tell me about the team a little bit.
Yeah, obviously a big believer in surround yourself with people smarter than you. The whole brain trust mentality from FDR a long time ago. But originally, so when I left, I was with another firm from 2011 to 2018 and went independent in 2018 with Taylor Financial. But I met an individual, Mike Everett. He's the chief investment officer of the firm of Taylor Financial. And we read this book called Rocket Fuel from Gino Wickman. Okay. Yeah, it's a good book. And he does Traction, which is the EOS system, and really just a great author. But we read this book called Rocket Fuel, and it's a quick read. But in that, there's an assessment. And what I found is that we both took this assessment, me and this gentleman's name, Mike. And what I found is that I am more the visionary, the CEO, like, let's go there, right?
Yeah.
But the problem is I leave so many pieces behind me. I don't know the implementation. I don't know actually what to do and execute to be able to get to that long-term vision. So taking this assessment, they said, hey, if you can find that person, that implementer, you can create Rocket Fuel. And so I believe this is that Mike was that implementer and I was that CEO. And that's really what led to this hockey stick growth.
And do you believe, many times I watch, especially at Board of Advisors and in the community, I watch partnerships transpire between those exact parties where you have the visionary, you have the integrator, they say, well, let's partner. Do you advise partnering or hiring a role like that?
I'm a team guy, right? So I think you have much more buy-in from a partnership standpoint than if you just have an employee.
Sure.
If you have partnership, you have someone who will work after hours. You have someone who you can hang out with more, right? So I can go to a sporting event. I can go to a concert. And I can go with my partner versus if it's an employee, you feel as though, I mean, you're
weird line.
Yeah, it's awkward in a sense, right? So that partnership, I like that because I think it opens up their creativity of how can we possibly do something different. What got us here is not going to get us there. That's true for a lot of things, though. But if you're just that lone alpha, that lone chief in all Indians, I think sometimes that could stunt your growth. So
is that the partner for Taylor?
Yeah. Mike Everett and I, we share pretty much everything. So from an investment standpoint, majority of the revenue of the firm comes from the fiduciary assets under management percentage that we charge a client. But we have 6 advisors total. So there's other advisors that focus maybe on premium financing. One focuses on employee benefits. One focuses on 529 plans. So we have advisors that have certain lanes and specialties. Total of 13 team members of Taylor Financial. Some that are focused on the insurance side. Some that are focused on the investment side. Some that are the chief experience officer of how do we create that service? How do we create that that ability to love on clients? Some that help with marketing. Some that help with the portfolios and the analysts. So yes, we have a good team, but we're still small. We're still able to create that boutique feeling, but still have these large institutions behind us to make sure we're always there.
So one partner.
Yeah, I mean, so I still own Taylor Financial 100%, the name, but we revenue share.
Oh, so it's a revenue partner.
Yeah.
That's even better.
Yeah.
Because it's a partner, but it's still not ownership, which doesn't always mean that it's better. I'm not sure if I'm 100% confident in that, but I do think that sometimes it removes any room for disagreement. You know what I mean? Then it's just about the revenue. We're splitting revenue. And
I think it's good to keep overhead low.
Yeah.
Again, I'm a deal guy, right?
Yeah.
I'm a very, someone will say I'm the cheapest rich person you've ever met just because I don't spend a lot of money on certain things. Sure. If I do, it's something I know that's an asset-backed item I can get back in some way. Whole nother conversation there. But so to keep my overhead low, that helps quite a bit. Now, granted, some of the overhead of like the investment real estate that we have, the building itself, yeah, that's there. But we got subtenants to help with that. Like, so I'm always trying to think, how can I run lean and how can I increase that EBITDA and that high profit margins? So I can go buy Ferraris.
Speaking of real estate, there's a lot of chatter about commercial about to have a lot of issues. And what do you see coming there?
I would say it's based on geographical location. If you're talking about San Francisco versus Tampa, that's a different conversation.
Sure. Okay.
Just focusing on Tampa, I think, or Florida in general, I think so many people are moving to Florida and so many people are going back to the office, especially in Florida. Where I'm at in Tampa, right next to the airport, a little west of it in the Rocky Point area, that whole area is starting to get gentrified and they've developed I don't know if you've seen the Tampa airport, but it is stunning.
Yeah,
and they have put
did a great job.
Yeah, they put a lot of money into it, right? So I view the Tampa airport as almost a nucleus, that in downtown, of course. But so if you look at the Tampa airport as a nucleus, South Tampa has been built out, Midtown's been built out, the armature work area of Seminole Heights area has been built out. So the only direction, in my opinion, where they can go long term that hasn't been built out yet is west, and that's exactly where my building is. But the commercial real estate in Tampa, I talked to a lot of brokers and they still say it's on fire. Now, the commercial real estate borrowing, if you don't have cash and if you're looking at loans, whether SBA or conventional, those rates, I mean, I don't think we've seen the lowest from interest rate standpoint. So that could be a barrier of entry because of the higher borrowing costs now.
You think rates are going to moderate down to like around 4.5%? Just I don't think we're going back to the lows.
No. I personally don't believe anytime soon, at least, we're going back to what rates were 18 months ago.
Yeah.
If you look at just from an average, let's say a mortgage, the industry average long term of a mortgage rate is 7.7%. You know, when my parents had a mortgage, when yours had a mortgage, it was double digits, like 14, 15% double digits, like pretty high. And then when I'm able to buy my house 3 years ago and I get a 2.75%, that's just unheard of. So mortgage rates are still below the average of that mid sevens long term. Where do I think rates are going? Again, don't have a crystal ball, can't predict, but can prepare. I do think from a rate increase, I do think we'll probably see another rate increase to help with the inflation, to help with just the hot job market. But it's gone down. Yeah, I mean, inflation back in September of last year was over 9, right? So we've come down quite a bit.
So you think we'll get another 0.25 or more?
I do. I think, I don't think the Fed's going to pause this coming up announcement. I think we're probably going to see another 25 basis points. GDP was strong last quarter, and it's, again, not negative this quarter, so strong. So as you know, a recession is 2 consecutive quarters of negative GDP. So I don't, believe we're going to go into a recession. I think we're going to go into a soft landing. 2 out of 3 advisors will probably agree with that or do agree with that. I do think there's a lot of volatility with the debt ceiling coming up, and just some geopolitical events, and just the everything that's you see on the news nowadays.
Beautiful. So what a good session.
Yeah,
you have a wealth of knowledge. The wealth manager with a wealth of knowledge.
And knows his wine.
And knows his wine. And his gears.
Gears,
and his other gears.
Yeah.
Interesting. So let's wrap up with this conversation, because it is an environment of uncertainty, right? There's a lot of questions. Are we going into a recession? Is it going to be a soft landing? What are they going to do with rates? Where should I put my retirement? I mean, everybody's, and a lot of people have taken a beating from certain angles. How do you deal with the emotions of all the clients, right? Because yes, sometimes it's black and white, and it's factual, and you have history to kind of serve, the decision-making process. But how do you also kind of govern the emotional aspect of the clientele?
Yeah, so I think it's imperative in my industry to have not only open lines of communication with clients, but make sure they're frequent. So we have online at taylorfinancial.com, you can go to book an appointment, and you can get a meeting with me or one of the other advisors at any point. You have full access to our calendar. So if they do have questions, or they're reading or hearing something late at night laying in bed, I need to talk to my team. How does this impact me? They can easily book a meeting. So I think that's crucial, being readily available, right? And then I think it's also important to make sure that there's recurring meetings, whether 4 times a year, 3 times a year, or once a year, right? Just having those regular check-ins on their plan, and making sure that we're moving that net worth needle forward. We're either acquiring more assets or paying down debt. So, and it's important to show them what history is, what it is shown for those that freak out. And one example is in COVID. April of 2020. Was I believe the biggest spike in the S&P, of a down spike, the largest down day in history. And what happened is that if you went to cash at that point, just for, let's say, 10 days, right? Went to cash for 10 days to a month, that you would have seen a 3% delta on the gains from then just to where we are now. And so one of the reasons why I think an advisor brings a tremendous amount of value to a client is that, hey, stay the course.
Right.
Obstacles are what you see when you lose your vision. Don't freak out. Don't go to cash. Let me show you the last 100 years and what history has told us if you miss the best days and the worst days. Dollar cost average.
Kind of like a coach.
Oh,
yeah.
It's, hey, the greatest football player knows how to play the game. So why do they need a coach? So I think it's someone that can really listen to what's important to you, give you some sound advice, but be that sounding board for them and talk them off the ledge.
Well, it's hard to see the game when you're in the game.
Yeah.
And the coach is seeing the game.
That's exactly it, right? So if a client is in the game, sometimes they just need a voice of reason.
That's right, baby. And you're a good voice of reason. I'd recommend you to anyone. Listen, if anyone wants to get in touch with you, adamtaylor.com, correct?
Yeah, easiest way. You can see, you can learn more about me on the personal side, see the team. You can book a meeting directly with me. Whether it's a 15-minute call, I'm open to it, or if you want to come see the beautiful new office, we welcome that.
Are you showcasing the upcoming events there too?
It's a good question. I don't think we are. If we are, we're not doing a good job with that. So that's an
That'd
area
be
of
something
opportunity.
that, as we want to advocate for you more from the board of advisor standpoint and send people to you. It's great for them to be able to see what you're doing and potentially what you've even done. Like the event, what the end result was for the Sanos group.
Yep, Skeets and
right?
Geeks.
So just kind of seeing a little bit of that track record brings some personality to you.
Yeah.
And then also what they have coming up in case they want to get involved.
Yep.
Speaking of events, if you want to meet a gentleman like Adam Taylor,
Ooh,
in person, live, you're going to want to apply for Board of Advisors. Boardofadvisors.com is the place where the top entrepreneurs, CEOs, wealth advisors, investors are. And you're there every quarter. You're going to be there in August.
Yeah. 3 years in now, right? So
yeah, you're a veteran now.
Yeah, that's
you're,
crazy.
You're becoming the catcher of all the great new people coming in, right? And it's a privilege to make those introductions as the new guys come in. Brian Wrigley, we actually need to do a little bit of a huddle and get some of these newer ones on your plate. Brian would be a good one for you as well. But meeting a gentleman like you, Adam Taylor, at these meetings is what we do so well. And I would encourage, if anyone has an interest, go to adamtaylor.com. If you want to actually meet you, go to boardofadvisors.com. We're looking forward to the next conversation for sure. Anything you want to leave the listeners with? No,
just, hey, thanks for your time. It's an honor to be here. It's nice that it's somewhat close to home. And people probably already have an advisor. I would advise them to still audit their plan with another one just to do checks and balances and make sure that they're getting the sound advice. There's so much of it. So such a changing industry on a daily, weekly, annual basis that it's just having another opinion is always nice for them.
Well, I think you're a product of the questions you ask. And I watch certain members like RJ Polano.
Sure.
RJ asks he'll get an answer from everybody on the same question, and he'll make up his mind and find his own answer. But he got great insight. So get other eyeballs on your stuff, right?
Stress test, audit. We all go through it. Maybe in the medical or the accounting side. Why not just do it with your financial plan?
You put your tires through it.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go. All right, brother. Great session today. Pleasure to have you on.
Always.
And looking forward to seeing you at the next meeting.
Thanks, Mike. Good.